Audi TT Mark 1. What is my car worth?
Hi all, Andy here and welcome back to the channel, where this week's bonus content is more around my thoughts and findings rather than maintenance, but I hope you will still find this interesting. That's mainly because my TT is currently in the garage. It's having the cam belt and water pump checked once more. This was recently replaced, but it's developed a bit of a noise and I want to make sure that's all good to go. First off, I'd like to thank each and every one of you out there that has subscribed to the channel, left me a comment, or given me some feedback on my Audi TT content. I'm truly blown away that the little jobs I've added to my channel have helped so many of you. If you have not, please do consider subscribing, where you'll find a whole host of info on the Audi TT here on the channel. Right, so let's try and answer the $6 million question, which is, how much is my Audi TT worth, or what can I buy for my money? Well, that depends on a lot of factors that I'm going to discuss, and I'm going to leave timestamps here. So if you want to fast forward to the relevant section, please feel free to do so. I hope this will help you make up the value of your own car, or if a potential purchase is worth it. A quick disclaimer before we continue. I take no responsibility and cannot be held liable for any lemon you buy, nor can I be held responsible for you undervaluing your car if you're looking to sell. All prices were current as of September 2021 and based in the UK and also based in Great British Pounds. So first up, let's look at the Audi TT Mark 1 and the various models that it comes in. Released in 1998, this concept car hit the showrooms with very little modification to the car that was first demoed in the 1995 Frankfurt Motor Show. Audi have produced quite a few variants of the Mark 1 during its 8-year production span. Prices will vary depending on the model you are looking at a great deal. When I say model, that includes the body shape, so a cabriolet or a coupe, engine size, the power output, and even the transmission type. So let's look at the two body shapes to start. The coupe or hardtop style car has a 2+2 seating arrangement, so you can get 4 people comfortable in the car. This seems to be the more plentiful variant that has been produced by Audi over the years when compared to the 2-seat Roadster. There were in fact 275,000 Audi TT Mark 1s produced, of which the coupe seems to be the more plentiful. Looking around today, you can see there are still a lot of both body types still available for purchase, and my personal preference is actually the coupe, despite being a soft top owner. They are very similar cars when glanced from the front or from the doors forward, with the obvious differences being the roof, the rear quarters, and of course the boot, or if you're in the US, the trunk. From an engine/model or trim perspective, the car was released in 1998 with a 1.8 litre turbo engine that produced 180 or 225 brake in both the coupe and soft top. A less powerful 150 brake Roadster being released from 2002. Seems to be a lot more 180s produced than 225s, from what I can see. But on the market today you will find plenty of both, and do not really vary too much in price. I've read a variety of press on how the 180 is better than the 225 and vice versa. So I would say do not discount the 180 based on the extra 45 horses if you're looking to buy. The giveaway sign for the 150 or 180 brake engine was the single exhaust pipe compared to the twin exhaust on the 225. The 180 car has a single intercooler compared to the dual intercooler of the 225. The 225 also has a bigger turbo. The 180 comes in both 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive quattro. The later release 150 brake Roadster only comes in 2-wheel drive. The 225 comes as a 4-wheel drive quattro only. In 2003, a 3.2 litre V6 non-turbo powertrain was added to the stable, which produced a staggering 250 brake horsepower. The 3.2 litre engine seems to be produced in far lower numbers compared to the other cars, the 225 and the 180 being a lot more common. Therefore, the 3.2 tends to hold its money better. From the various ads I've seen selling these, pricing seems to be around 1.5 to 2 times the price of the 225 or 180. Oh, and as a side note, they make a cracking sound on the V6. Most tend to come with the DSG gearbox, which is an automated gearbox, but there are some manual versions out there. Finally, in 2005, they introduced the ultimate variant of the 1.8 litre turbo engine with the Quattro Sport. The Quattro Sport was only available as a coupe. It is noticeable by its black roof or two-tone paintwork, unless of course you've got a black car. The limited edition TT Quattro Sport is seen as a true gem on the Mark 1 range, and as such it really holds its value. There were in fact only 1100 made, of which 900 were produced in the right-hand drive version, but they seem to be the most plentiful around the world here in the UK. So to rank these in price order, with model being the only difference, I would say the 150 is at the bottom, followed by the 180 and then the 225. The soft tops and coupes are around the similar money, with the soft top commanding more money in the summer. I would say this would then be followed by the 3.2 V6 and of course the limited run Quattro Sport being the ultimate car. Next up is colour. I'm surprised by the impact that colour makes on price. However, numbers of certain colours, which is discussed in the next section, seems to be a factor in the price your car will fetch. When I bought mine, I felt that silver was the colour to go for. In my opinion, silver is the traditional Audi TT colour. Obviously I have a plan to keep mine and become a classic one day, but this seems to count against it. I see Facebook post after Facebook post saying, I have around X amount of money to spend, what can I get for my money, anything other than silver. I'm really not sure what the dislike is for the silver Audi TT. Perhaps it's the number that were produced, compared to other brands where silver tends to hold its money very well. The most popular colours seem to be the rarer ones. There are a few shades of blue, including metallics and grey, which hold their money very well, and of course black always sells well. You try keeping that clean though. There are also a few cracking green examples out there and a few red ones too. So ranking these on colour alone, I would say the blacks and blues command the most money, along with some of the greys. Next up you've got your reds and your greens, with silver at the bottom of the pile. So next up is Rarity. Again, there is 275,000 Audi TTs produced. So you can't say the TT is particularly rare. Well, not at the moment it's not. However, the limited edition Quattro Sport makes it a much rarer example, and therefore it holds its money much better. An example being, there's a 125,000 mile QS for sale right now for $6.5 grand. This is over double the price of any 225 I've found, with similar miles. Only difference, the extra 15 horses under the bonnet, and of course it's Rarity. I could only find 3 of these for sale. 225s and 180s, literally hundreds. So if you're looking for a classic to garage and hold its money, well, the Quattro Sport seems to be the car based on supply and demand. Of course, as the car ages, less of them will be around. The Facebook groups are full of "I'm breaking my TT," etc. And it does make my heart sink a little bit every time I see one of those. Although, one less on the road increases the demand for the supply if you want to sell one. The good thing about the number of cars being broken is you can normally pick up any of the spares you require that may potentially be out of production. Condition seems to be another big factor. With so many out there, they've all led very different lives. The engines tend to be very encouraging for heavy right feet, so I'm sure there are not many out there that have been used by granny to do the weekly shop. Over time, the rotters will vanish, but there are still a lot of cars out there that need a significant amount of work. Consider this if you're trying to buy one. There could be some really expensive jobs to factor into any purchase you make, such as the timing belt and water pump. This job will set you back around about £400, and a clutch may not leave much change out of £800. On the flip side, if you've had those jobs already done, you can factor that into your selling point when asking for top dollar on a car. A really fine 225 car with 80,000 miles on it will fetch £3 grand at a stretch. More likely 2.5, but if there are any jobs outstanding, expect to be knocked down, or do the knocking down if you're looking to make a purchase. I always think that the interior of a car tells a story. It tells you exactly how that car has been treated and what the outside should look like too. Interiors seem to wear particularly well, and most are made of decent quality leather and fairly hard wearing plastic. Remember to lift those mats and check the carpets though. What you are looking for in a purchase we will discuss later. So, service history. I think one of the most critical parts is the service history. A well-maintained and loved car should have a whole host of paperwork to support it. My advice when working on your car is keep every single receipt. It shows any potential buyer how much money you have spent keeping their future purchase running. If someone turns up to buy your car and you can't show them any paperwork, that is going to affect the price. So if you're selling, factor that in. Use the history to support the price. A well stamped up service book with lots of receipts will help you. A lost book and no evidence of paperwork opens you up to be beaten down. I would say that the lack of paperwork could harm your expected asking price by as much as 50%. So, modded or unmodded? There is no real right or wrong answer to this section. It depends what you're looking for in your car or what you intend to do with it. I personally think keeping it standard and garage will eventually lead it to being a future classic. Eventually, it will lead to some rare examples being worth a decent price. It may take many years, but as the numbers decrease and the cars become rarer, the mint unbutchered car will be worth most. History would support my argument. You only need to look at things like the recent modern classics, such as the hot hatches from the 1980s, to see this in action. Even the parts fetch great money nowadays. You try getting yourself a mint parcel shelf for a Ford Escort, or a Fiesta, or even a Peugeot 205 GTI. You would only need to try and find one of these parcel shelves without 6x9 holes cutting it for speakers to see what I mean. That is taking nothing away from modded cars. If you're all about performance or simply want a better driving experience or track car, then a modded car might be for you. Some of these typical mods may include a remapped ECU, new air filter, suspension, a catch can, wheels, brakes, etc. If it's done right, these mods can really enhance the experience of a potential purchase, or done wrong, they could be a whole host of trouble to put right. Again, think about your mods when valuing your car. If it's price you're thinking about, sometimes an over-modded car can have the same effect as an overdeveloped house. These cars have a ceiling, so don't expect to recoup what you've shelled out. I see a lot of ads saying thousands spent. Well, that might be the case, but don't expect your hard-earned money to be repaid by someone else. So, example prices. This is the hard bit. Well, the car's worth should be valued at what someone is prepared to pay for it. Yes, there are factors as discussed that will affect this either way, pushing it down or up from an average price depending on what I've spoken about. I've looked at a whole range of cars and I've grouped these by the power output to show you what I found the typical asking price would be. There were very out there examples of all cars which you could say have been priced rather hopefully, and I've left these out of my average calculation. I will mention these in each category. To start with, I looked at the 150 brake horsepower Roadster. Not that many about, but I found 7 examples ranging in age, colour and condition, and of course all are Roadsters. The average price for these came out at £2,650, and mileage all seemed to be in the 90 to 120,000 bracket. Reds, blacks and of course silvers available, with the exception being a low mileage 2003 car with 30,000 on the clock. Someone was looking for £6,975 for this. Looked to be a trader selling this, which often demands a higher price, but again it's a low mileage car for its age, so a potential car to put away and keep mint. Next up was the 180 brake horsepower cars, a real mixed bag here with a few soft tops and a lot of coupes up for sale. I found 17 180 brake coupes for my calculation, and they seem to be quite different in price here to the Roadsters, possibly due to it being summer, but they were averaging out around £1,900 for a coupe. I could not see any low mileage pristine cars demanding a higher price for the 180s. The soft tops seemed to be holding their money a bit better, and I found 6 and they were averaging out at £2,800. Most of these 180s seemed to be Quattros also. Moving to what I found to be the most plentiful car, the 225. These again varied in price very much. There were 27 of these that I looked at. The cheapest hardtop was £1,800 for a car with 130 on the clock and in black. On the whole, they all hovered around the average price of £2,250 for a coupe. Looking at the soft tops, these were again slightly higher, and the 12 cars I found, they have an average price of £3,050. Again, summer may be influencing the £800 difference right now. Lots of different conditions, and black seemed to command the best money again. The hardtop 225 seemed to be the most heavily modded car, also reading the specs. One car jumped out as a potential future minter, but it was valued at £9,000. A 2000 car with only 26,000 on the clock. Not one I would buy as a daily driver, but at that price and that condition and with that low miles, it is something to consider if you want to put it away. Moving to the 3.2 V6 cars, these again varied quite a bit. I looked at 7 of these, 4 hardtops and 3 roadsters. Hardtops were definitely cheaper, but not by much, and I think the one highly priced example made an impact on this. They tended to be mostly grey, and all but one came with the DSG automatic gearbox, something to discuss in a moment. The higher performance brought a higher price, with the cheapest 3.2 coming in at £3,000 and the exception roadster being £7,500. The high priced car did only have 41,000 on the clock, so again it's low mileage for its age. Average prices? Well, the 3.2 roadster averaged £5,600 and the hardtops at £4,100, a fairly decent difference. Lastly, the Quattro Sport. This included the most expensively priced Mark 1 I've found, a £13,000 car with 65,000 miles on the clock in red. I only found 3 of these in total for sale, and the other 2 cars were roughly half that price but much higher miles on them. Again, these seem to command the best prices due to their initial limited run, and a good quality one will really hold its money. I think this may give you the best combination of car if you're looking for an investment for the future, but not necessarily if you're looking to tinker and mod. As mentioned, these only come in hardtop, so no roadster difference here. What to look for when purchasing? There are plenty of other videos on YouTube discussing what to look for when buying an Audi TT, so I'm just going to give you my own thoughts on info that I have found or been given advice by other people. If you're looking for a good base car, detailed service history and a well-maintained car is vital. The engines are very good, but they do need to be treated with a lot of care. Regular oil and various fluid changes, replacing the various filters, and following the advised timeframes for the various services is essential. Cars that have been sitting around for years, no matter how low the mileage, may be suffering from neglect, so check that out. Old fuel could be sitting in the pipework, rotting it out, on cars that have not moved or had very little use for many years. Parts could seize or become brittle, and missed services could mean expensive bills. A TT has a Haldex gearbox on the Quattro models, and this needs to be serviced also. You can do this yourself with a bit of patience, and I have left a video link to my Haldex service listed above. A good example of a major mechanical job the car will need, and I've already mentioned, is the timing belt and water pump. Having one of these belts snap on an interference engine, which the TT is, can end up in a big pile of scrap under the bonnet. If the car you are looking at has had this belt done, ask for proof. Don't just take someone's word for it. Again, it's not just mileage that's a factor. If it's not been done for many years, it will need doing. On the whole, the bodywork on the TT is pretty sound, but they can suffer from flaking lacquer or bubbling paint on the sills, the arches, the doors, and also where the panels meet. So give any rusty areas a good inspection and consider why. Although I do not own one, I have been told that the coupe can rot along its roof rails. The DSG automatic gearbox can also be a very expensive thing to fix and run into thousands. If it does go wrong, it's a massive factor in any purchase, so any DSG car that has gearbox gremlins is probably worth giving a wide berth. A clutch is also a fairly involved and expensive part to change, particularly when it could be as much as a third of the value of the car. So if the clutch is spongy or you're looking to sell one with a dodgy clutch, please be prepared to negotiate over price. If you have sat in a few Audi TT Mark 1s, one thing that you will probably notice if it has the original instrument cluster screen is it's going to have a very pixelated display. Do not be put off by this, because this is fairly easy to remove and the cluster can be sent away and be repaired for around £80 to get this fixed. This is a job that I undertook on my own car, and I'm going to leave a link to a video above of me removing my cluster and sending it away for repair. Under the bonnet, a car with a misfire might be something as simple to replace as a faulty coil pack, a cracked or leaked vacuum hose, or a malfunctioning MAF sensor, all of which are fairly cheap fixes if you can pick up a bargain TT. Alternators also tend to fail at times, but again you can pick one of these up for about £130 and fit that yourself. When looking at a modded car, it is hard to know what you are looking at unless you have detailed info on the mod or what it should do. There are a lot of cars around with remapped ECUs that promise more power, but this will be at the expense of something else. At best, a bit of fuel economy, or at worst, wear and tear on the engine and other structural components. That is not to say that enhanced mods on cars are a bad thing. Just make sure you know exactly what has been done, by whom, and that it's safe and reliable. Don't be dazzled by the promises of 300 brake horsepower without serious modifications to the entire engine internals. So to conclude, the price of your TT or your TT purchase is a bit of a minefield. I hope my bit of research into the various pricings, models, ages, miles and conditions, current as of September 2021 as I've mentioned in the UK, has helped. I will leave the table of some examples I've found here on screen so you too can check out the prices that I've found myself. I use various mediums for this: Autotrader, eBay, Facebook. There's lots of places out there to look for the cars. I hope the content has proved useful this week. If it has, please do think about giving it a thumbs up. Also think about subscribing to the channel where you will find a whole host of other Audi TT videos for your viewing pleasure. Thanks again for watching. Take care and see you soon.